Dear policymakers and educators, I've realized how to make more change than a 7.9 earthquake. I can simply use my voice to destroy the injustice that I see. I've learned to tear down walls, make empire fall with simple lines of poetry. I promise you, no statistic, no poverty will ever be enough to silence me, especially when I see that those who are in poverty aren't truly free because of a discriminating line separating the children we are educating. Because they are experiencing an inequity that raises one group to success and leaves another to rest in the desolate places that they're from. It's an unfair social hierarchy. But like I said, I've learned how to tear down walls, make empires fall with simple lines of poetry. And I will raise my voice until the choice is made to end the discrepancy between race and graduation, race and incarceration, social class and education. Dear policymakers, educators, students, and community members, my name is Nelson Luna, and I'm a freshman at Columbia University. In April of 2017, I co-founded the student-led coalition Teens Take Charge. In 2017, Whitney Stevenson, my fellow co-founder, and I witnessed the first hands of inequities that existed in the public school system. We decided to take our experiences, use our friends alongside with other students, and share our ideas on a city that prides itself on diversity. Yet, New York City is home to one of the most segregated public school systems in the country. The worst part of this problem is that students most negatively impacted by the segregation have the least power in addressing it. But that is changing. Teens Take Charge has become a coalition of students who participate in the education policies that affect all of us. We have led large community events at public library branches around the city, where more than 4 dozen students have testified about our separate and unequal school system. Today, Teens Take Charge has alumni in colleges all across the country and are continuing to fight for equitable education in each university that they are in. And we have grown from just 2 students to 47 active high school members from more than 30 high schools across the 5 boroughs. Together with our allies, we are committed to shifting power in the New York City education systems to the students. Thank you.
My name is Tiffany Torres, and I'm a junior at Pace High School. On Tuesday of this week, the Mayor's School Diversity Advisory Group came out with a detailed report on school diversity, which they have been working on for over a year. We were excited to see that the group used the real integration framework developed by our allies at Integrate NYC. As the students at Integrate NYC constantly remind those in power, integration must be more than the movement of bodies. That's why we support the report's recommendations to improve culturally responsive practices, expand student representation in decision-making, and spend more resources to the schools in the most need. However, we cannot achieve integration and equity without addressing segregated enrollment patterns. The School Diversity Advisory Group has not yet proposed any recommendations in this area, but we have. For about a year, Teens Take Charge has been focused on addressing segregated enrollment, specifically in high schools. This issue has concerned us greatly because even though New York City public high schools promise open choice when it is time to apply, our high schools remain deeply segregated. Academic screens and complicated admissions requirements at the most resourced schools create an uneven playing field. Some of us had benefited from these uneven playing fields, others have suffered, but none of us are okay with it. So about a year ago, with support from the Community Service Society, Teens Take Charge developed an enrollment equity plan, which addresses specialized high schools, but more importantly, the remaining 400 plus high schools in the city. Simply increasing access to a handful of so-called elite schools is not integration. Let me repeat that. Simply increasing access to a handful of so-called schools is not integration. Our enrollment equity plan has 2 components. 1, greater transparency in the admissions process, including specific changes to the information provided in the high school directory. And 2, a baseline level of student academic diversity that all schools would have to meet. In other words, we want the DOE to add simple regulations to the high school matching process to break up extreme concentrations of high-performing students and extreme concentrations of low-performing students in the same schools. Our plan is not going to integrate high schools overnight, but it offers a clear, actionable path forward that would simultaneously increase diversity and raise the overall proficiency of our schools. You can read the full details of the plan at teenstakecharge.com/enrollment. To advocate for the enrollment equity plan, Teen Take Charge has had several meetings and phone conversations with the Department of Education officials over the past year. We presented the plan to dozens of education policymakers at a luncheon in Tweed Courthouse last May. We have also presented the plan at 2 large community events at the Brooklyn Public Library. Each time, we have been told to wait, to be patient, that change is coming soon. When questioned about integrating non-specialized high schools last June, the mayor indicated that bigger changes were on their way. Mr. Mayor, we cannot afford to wait any longer. Thank you.
That is why, today, we are announcing very clear expectations that we have for Mayor de Blasio. My name is Sokhnadiarra Ndiaye, and I am a junior at Brooklyn College Academy, and I too am a member of Teen Take Charge. Our expectations align with serving the students who are being left behind in this current system, racially, socioeconomically, and academically segregated high schools. Our first expectation is that the mayor announce a comprehensive plan to racially, socioeconomically, and academically integrate high schools before the end of the school year. But we know that announcing a plan is not the same as implementing it. So we have a second expectation, which builds on the recommendations in the School Diversity Advisory Report in the Resources section on page 84. Our second expectation is that until high schools are actually integrated, we expect the mayor to include money in the next year's DOE's budget for the following. 1. A paid summer internship aligned to the schools-based SYEP model for every student in a segregated high-poverty high school. 2. Vouchers for families of students in segregated high-poverty high schools to spend on private extracurricular or sports programs that their schools do not offer, or allow students to participate in programs available at any other public high school. 3. Enough college and career counselors to provide every junior or senior in a segregated high-poverty high school at least 1 hour of one-on-one counseling per month. To recap, we expect that until the mayor comprehensively integrates high schools, he closes the gaps in the opportunities between our most resource and least resource schools. As always, we would love to work with the DOE, the School Diversity Advisory Group, and the mayor himself to develop and implement a plan. But we cannot afford to wait another day because we are currently denying tens of thousands of students the equitable education we promised them, but which they have never seen. We are messing with these children's futures.
And before we wrap up, I would like to include some words of wisdom from one of our members, Sabrina Kenny, who couldn't be here, but we miss her a lot. I will remember those who fought for integrated schools in a segregated nation, those who, rather than stand on the sidelines, took active participation, those who are willing to fight for our students to go to quality schools regardless of learning mode, those who understand that obtaining an education should not be determined by performance, race, tax bracket, or zip code. I remember those who will fight to ensure they are well informed, those who are willing to help change the system that we undeniably formed. Thank you, and we're going to take questions in a minute. Let's try and reconnect. We're going to take questions in a minute, sorry about that. But before we take questions, Basari, a high school student from Harlem, wants to share a little bit more about his experiences before we move on to questions. Thank you. Woo.
Good afternoon. My name is Basiri Dakiti, and I attend Thurgood Marshall Academy in Harlem. So my school is really, it does good for the community, for the students. I have teachers in my school that care about the kids a lot and are there to teach the kids. However, it is still, it could be way better. So from the food to the extracurricular activities that are provided in my schools, they're just lackluster and they don't do the kids justice and just set them up for failure. The lack of nutritious food is evident from the 6th to 12th grade. We only have 2 sports available in our schools, basketball and track and field. And just last year, actually, my math teacher got charged with a drug possession, and I was without a geometry teacher for multiple weeks. And it was subsequently filled by a teacher who couldn't really teach the students in the class, and as a result, grades plummeted and students just ditched the class entirely. So I say this because it's very disheartening that we expect students to rise up to the challenge and be productive members of society, but yet we fail to give them the adequate resources so that they can develop themselves. And I say this again because I'm a huge outlier in my school. Most students aren't able to even imagine the experiences and opportunities that I was able to give. And this is just off the basis that I'm a quote-unquote a good student. But this is just the reality that myself and multiple other students in this city live. And this is a problem that we need to definitely fix and something that we need to address right this very instant. Thank you.